We start with a point. Hi friends and welcome back. Rob Bryanton with the Imagining the 10th Dimension video blog, and today's entry is called Ringing in the Brain. And just before we start, I want to mention the word that we're going to be talking about today is for a medical condition, ringing in the ears. And according to the Merriam-Webster dictionary, the word is pronounced tinnitus. Now, I know there's some people out there that pronounce this word tinnitus, and apparently that's not wrong. Both pronunciations are acceptable. To me, when you say tinnitus, it sounds like a sickness you're going to get from eating tin. So I'm going to go with the Merriam-Webster dictionary here and pronounce it tinnitus. But if you prefer to say it the other way, it's not wrong. It's just one of those words that common usage has led to it being pronounced two different ways. And the blog entry goes like this. One of the ideas I discussed in my book is that ringing in the ears, or tinnitus, doesn't actually come from the ears, but from the brain. Now, the image we're looking at here, an artist's rendition of nerve cells in the brain according to its caption, comes from a BBC Science news story published a few days ago, which shows new medical studies confirming this idea to be what's really happening. And the name of the article is Technique Can Pinpoint Tinnitus. And I'm going to read you a few paragraphs here. Tinnitus is a condition where sounds are heard in one or both ears when there is no external source. While doctors had thought tinnitus was generated by ear problems, they now believe it is generated in the brain. The team at Henry Ford Hospital in Detroit used a special scanner to map the locations in the brain. They hope it will allow more targeted therapies to be developed. The scan is called magnetoencephalography, MEG, and it measures the very small magnetic fields generated by intracellular electrical currents in the neuron cells in the brain. The team at the Henry Ford Hospital have already tried using chips which generate electrical noise directly in the brain in 2 patients to try to interfere with the tinnitus signals. Now let's look back at my book and see what I said about tinnitus. Here's a useful saying in discussions of life and consciousness. That which ceases to change ceases to exist. When the brain processes input from the auditory nerve, it tends to reject any continuous noises which do not change, like, for instance, the noise of the air molecules in the room banging into each other or the sound of an air conditioner. In other words, for our consciousness, the noises or smells or continuous aches and pains and so on, which cease to change, will cease to exist because the brain stops them from being considered for processing. When we listen back to a tape recording, we're surprised at how much background noise there is because we're hearing what's really in the room without the phase reverse noise cancellation the brain uses to remove those continuous noises. Now, when the internal mechanisms of the ear are damaged, usually through exposure to excessive sound levels, we end up with an imbalance where the brain is correcting for frequencies that are no longer coming in. This manifests itself as tinnitus, or ringing of the ears. It turns out that the ringing we hear is not from the ears but from the brain itself, as it attempts to cancel out particular frequencies that are no longer coming in from the auditory nerve. This is an example of how the brain is processing a huge amount of data, while our conscious minds are completely unaware of the process. It's only when things are not functioning normally that we start to see evidence of what's going on behind the curtain. As I've said elsewhere, one of the criticisms of the many worlds interpretation is that it's too extravagant to ask us to imagine that a new universe is created with each new action of chance or choice. Likewise, it may seem unreasonable to assume that the brain is processing data coming in from some of those other universes in ways that are not apparent to our conscious minds. Tinnitus is a great example of what happens when one of those complicated processes that are already occurring in the brain all the time goes slightly out of balance. How much more is happening behind the curtain that we have yet to discover? This idea has been explored elsewhere in my book and a number of other blog entries, including Creativity in the Quantum Universe, Seeing Time, Feeling Colors, Tasting Light, Beer and Miracles, The Biocentric Universe Part 2, and You Have a Shape and a Trajectory. The idea that our brains are doing much more than we realize to create the reality we see around us is also the point of my song, From the Corner of My Eye. Here's a video of my friend Ron Scott singing that song to close. I hope you'll join me next time. The next blog entry is called What's Around the Corner. My name's Rob Bryanton. Enjoy the journey.
From the corner of my eye, I saw it. I thought I caught a glimpse at the edge of sight. Just a tiny inkling, very hard to see. A flutter like 1,000 wings in flight. In the corner of my mind, I questioned, well, how could there be more than this world of ours? Just a trick of vision, disorder of the mind, a pattern of tiny twirling stars. At the corner of my eye, from the corner of my eye, I saw the dance and spin over the world within. Such a mystery. From the corner of my eye, hidden in the folds, those are the worlds untold. How can it be? In the corner of my heart, I felt it. Well, there's so many worlds that we cannot see. Just around the corner, hard for us to turn. Angels dancing endlessly. At the corner of our eye, from the corner of my eye, I saw the dance and spin over the world within. It's such a mystery.